what does the end times look like? Well, I decided to draw my version of it, kind of what I think with all the eschatology and ideas that I have studied, and combine them into one like small piece to show you what it's like and what I think. So I grew up, being told about war and famine and the possibilities of nuclear war, right? And it's even more present today that we have to fear nuclear war in World War III. So this drawing here that I'm about to show you is based on a lot of those predictions and ideas, what the end times may look like. But hopefully it doesn't end to this and doesn't come to this, and maybe we can kind of like learn from our mistakes. I don't know. Humans don't really learn very well from their mistakes. They just continue them. It's a strange phenomenon. But in this drawing, I'm going to promote a few different eschatology ideas and different theories of how the world may end. And if you like this, please like and subscribe, and share your thoughts down below, please. So I'm inking right here the moon breaking apart and crashing. This is based off an idea of like cosmic destruction. Today, NASA actually launched a rocket to hit an asteroid and see if it can knock it off course. Why would they spend millions of dollars to do that unless there was a real imminent threat? I think they're not telling us something, but luckily we have Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck, and we'll be safe, I guess. But it's just a wild theory that they used a rocket to try to knock off. It's like throwing a rock at a car. I don't get it, but okay. Down here below, I'm drawing a woman and a child. They're dead on the ground. And this was based off of the idea and theory of Malthusianism and chemical warfare, right? Malthusianism is based more along the lines of like being overpopulated and people not getting enough food and famine and stuff happening because of this. And of course, chemical warfare could do this as well, but I wanted to place this there, and it's just a really hard scene to see. And then I have a flag, the American flag down below, kind of like fallen. And the reason why I did that was because America is supposed to be this high and mighty place of like the savior kind of country where people come to get away from all this destruction, but we know how that is. Up at the top where I'm drawing right now, there's a shopping cart with toilet paper. That's based off of the pandemic, where there was this huge movement to get toilet paper because when there's COVID you need toilet paper. That makes no sense. So in this drawing I'm kind of just playing off of different reactions of humankind, and it's a little testy. It's definitely, some people might find it inappropriate, but I like to challenge thought, and I like to study history and exegesis and like different things of studies that might predict the end times as well as just history period. Eschatology is a fun one because there's so many different ways that we could die in the end. I didn't put the ice caps melting. I think that's going to happen, and I think we'll have to figure that out. And the volcanic like super eruptions, like I didn't want to put that in this drawing because it would just be a lot to take in. But I wanted to focus more on World War III and kind of how people may turn into zombies due to the fact that they're just freaking out, or maybe certain objects in our life will create us to become zombies in a sense, right? Like we're so attached to our phones, we're so attached to drugs because a lot of America pumps us with drugs nonstop. Right now there's a pandemic of fentanyl hitting the streets and killing people left and right, and even those who are experiencing homelessness are like spray painting here in Los Angeles, like take away fentanyl, it's just killing everybody. And it's just wild that this is even happening. But I didn't want to put that in there either because that's a really harsh one, and I work with a lot of that community, and I feel so bad. Like what can you do? Like drug dealers and people who are selling these things are doing it out of a desire to make money, and which I'll get to in a second, and then also other reasons that I can't really explain. I know you want to kind of probably hear about how I'm drawing this and why, I can explain right here. I'm doing a lot of shading with the pen to kind of the distance from the explosion that's going to be behind them, which is the nuclear explosion, which is going to be more bright. And this is going to be the darker areas, kind of the lower parts and the more of the objects that are falling behind the into the shadows. But yeah, so I have here this character that I'm drawing his vest, and he's holding this glass of whiskey. And this kind of goes off of this Bible verse that I read that was preached a lot in the church that I grew up in. And the church that I grew up in was kind of a really radical Southern Pentecostal Assemblies of God church, where they use fear, and a lot of churches use fear to kind of get you to repent and kind of do these things. And I don't agree with that, but what can I say? You know, I can't convince anyone else that that's kind of wild. I feel that that's a tactic to place people into a position that they need to listen. And one of these verses that they use, I heard a lot, was 2 Timothy 3:1 through I think it was 7. It says this. I want to read it real quick. You must understand this, that in the last days distressing times will come, for people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, inhuman, implacable, slanderers, profligates, brutes, haters of good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, holding on to the outward form of godliness but denying its power. Avoid them, for among them are those who make their way in household and captivate silly women, overwhelmed by their sins and swayed by all kinds of desires. And I heard this a lot growing up, and it's this thing that's like, oh, look at the end times are near. And even my grandmother she thinks the end times are, like, every day when I was growing up, she was saying the end is near. And when you look at history, you find that many people proclaim to be prophets or predictors, and even Nostradamus has his that he got wrong. And he got a lot right, though. But then that's interpretive, right? Like, it could be at any time that those things could have happened, in which we see that the end times are always apparent. There is always famine, and there's always rumors of war. There's always people acting inhumane and insane. So I've always, after reading and learning a lot of eschatology and history, you kind of find that the end times are always at your doorstep, in a sense, and we shouldn't be worried about like this one specific day to come, but more or less our life and our days are always at our doorstep waiting to end us, right? Like, death is always there, and we should learn to enjoy life and love life and participate in the things that are present. And I think that's really where the text should be focused on, but I wanted to make this piece as scary and doomful as possible. And right now I'm drawing these like medals of honor for this soldier, this military lieutenant or whatever, general, and I don't really know what they look like, but that's just to showcase that people are really worried about status rather than what is good, and we can see that all over the world, right? We work too hard, and we work for money, we work for status, we work for fame and fortune, and we miss out on the important things like our family and friends, and enjoying hiking and enjoying things that we grew up enjoying. And I'm not a preacher or even a teacher, but I think the focus should be more on taking advantage of the life that we have. And that's why I started this whole drawing thing. I wanted to start drawing the Bible and different religions from a logical and more factual perspective, and even some of it being a fantasy too. But growing up, I was raised in a church that hindered me from drawing these things because they said it was sinful, even though I was drawing biblical things. They just didn't like them. So now that I'm older and able to draw these things freely, I wanted to share a lot of my thoughts and the theology that I've come to understand about biblical texts and different types of concepts around the world. So if you want to support me, please like and subscribe my video. It would really mean a lot to me. But more so, if you want to get pieces of these art that I'm drawing, sign up to my Patreon. It'll be up very soon, and I'll be sending these out as black and white pieces to people, or as colored, depending on which tier you would like to receive. And that would support me, drawing more and giving more back to everybody. Now, if you don't agree with this kind of thought process, I fully understand. I'm not trying to force you to believe it or even take it as 100% truth, because what I'm learning, honestly, I'm learning from different books and the internet and everything like that. So I'm never going to be 100% on anything, and I'm just giving you what I've learned and what I've experienced. And experience is an illusion in many ways, but I just hope you guys like it. Now here I'm drawing this tiger machine, right? And this represents the idea of taking trade from foreign countries, but also animals abuse. We have killed so many animals because we want to feed ourselves in the most fancy ways, right? And these animals never ask for these things, and I just don't believe that we should be eating as much meat as we are. I'm not saying meat eating is bad. I love barbecue. I'm from Texas, I'm going to eat barbecue, but I think I would feel better if I hunted my food, or there was an option for me to know how this food came about instead of having all this processed or random food. Here, this zombie that I'm drawing, this represents what I think humans are becoming. We're more focused on being acceptable to society and being, I hate to say it, like TikTokers and stuff like this, and becoming famous and just being approved by society, that we just eat each other. We'll destroy each other in order to get to that fame or that fortune that we need, or we think we need. Zombies, I hope the zombie apocalypse happens, because I would love to throw axes and test out my shotgun skills, and that's like the most fun apocalypse I think I can think of. But no apocalypse is good. I want to have, a full life, and I think everyone does. But I'm just saying, if zombies did happen, it'd be kind of cool in a way. But the tiger here that I'm drawing is representative of both things, of the animal abuse and meat eating, but also vanity of like having purses, and we use animals for this and that, for whatever we need, because we're the stronger species, we say, where that's one of those things I love the Native Americans and other cultures that are ancient, because they really respect animals, and it's a beautiful thing, it really is, because it takes time to actually respect things like this, and I wish we can go back to it, but we're just not going to. But yeah, as I'm outlining all these different parts, I'm leaving spaces where I'm not outlining anything. That's because the watercolor needs to be there, and they'll be just as dark as the black almost, but I needed to test these colors in these areas and leave them open for the watercolor to enter. Up top here, I'm drawing this machine that's kind of an ammunition, but it also has this orb that has this fuel, and that's based off the idea of the whole chemical warfare too, that it's just this weapon we're able to spread and shoot everywhere and convince everyone they're going to die. In the far left, you see a guy jumping out of a window. That is my idea of regret in the end times, where people would just give up, and I hope that never happens. It's just a sad thing that we put so much pressure on each other and ourselves that we need to give up. And I definitely ask, if you struggle with that, definitely talk to somebody and find help, because it's a real thing. It's a real deal. So yeah, here I'm kind of just shading in different areas. I jump around a lot in my art because I get bored really quick. Like ADHD hits me hard in this. I haven't been drawing for so long that now that I'm entering back into my art, I'm finding that I'm like distracted because I have so many other responsibilities to do. But hey, the drawing gets done. It took a little while. Here I'm drawing the perspective of buildings, and I'm terrible at drawing perspective and buildings, so you can see how this kind of gets a little weird. I was trying to be creative and create new and stylistic buildings for, out of this, and that was supposed to promote the idea that we are trying to keep on building things because we think that there needs to be room for population. But I think in all reality, population is growing not even growing. It's actually declining because people are working so much that they're not having children as much as they were back in the 80s or the 70s. You know, baby boomers is a term because of what was happening. This feather that I was drawing was part of this, just a small representation of spirituality for foreign countries. The idea is that the gentleman on the left, who's the military American guy, was making a deal with a foreign country, this character on the right, with this big hat and head thing, and selling out, kind of like saying, oh yeah, we don't support you, but really behind, you know, closed windows or whatever, they were doing deals. And my thoughts on that are very testy too, because recently America kind of left a country with all their military equipment there. It doesn't make sense if we're one of the smartest countries how that can be possible, but it was just hidden under the shade because the news promoted other media to be more popular and important than that, which blows my mind. Anyways, please let me know your thoughts on that too, because I'm curious. I really am curious. I really want to know what people think of this. No one's talking about it as much as they probably should. No one's talking about aliens. America revealed that like a lot of footage from aliens being and UFOs being real, but like because of COVID, it got swept under the rug. That also blows my mind. So that's just, I'm confused. That should be the most important news of all time, extraterrestrials. But here we go. So yeah, back to the drawing. Sorry guys, I digress. Shading in, outlining some of the tiger stuff. I'll be moving over to the hat and the head piece for this character to the right in a second. And then I added some of these watchtowers and these communication towers. It's interesting because in the end times they say there's going to be this mark of the beast that's going to be on the head and the hand. But I don't think anyone's going to get tattoos of that, like a barcode. People think it's going to be a barcode. I actually believe it's the cell phone itself because it's in our hand all the time and then it goes to our ear, right? I think that is the communication because we need that to purchase things these days. And it's very subtle, but that's just a wild thought, I think. If you have an idea of what you think the mark of the beast would be, please let me know in the comments below because maybe I can draw that out too and put that in the piece. There's a nuclear bomb right there. And as for the building here, I'm just trying to fill in a cool style buildings, creating my own style. I'm terrible at it. Add some bricks, gives us some depth. And again, guys, if you enjoy my conversation and talking about these kind of things, please like and subscribe. If you hate what I'm saying and don't agree with it, still please like and subscribe and put that notification button so you can hate and not like my stuff even more. But I appreciate you guys even watching this. If you made it this far, you guys are amazing, and I appreciate all your thoughts and your background and your upbringing and everything. I'm just giving you my perspective. So here's the final piece of the ink. I'm going to go in and watercolor this later, but this will be available on my Patreon. So if you sign up for Patreon, you'll be able to get this, and I'll mail this out to you. And this is The End of the World by Revelation Bill, amongst the zombies and the trade and the politics and all the chaos that might happen. I like it. I think it's cool. I hope nuclear war doesn't happen, and I definitely hope an asteroid doesn't destroy us because the asteroid thing is so uncool. Definitely don't want to turn out like the dinosaurs. At least in this fashion, there may be ability to survive. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't let this depress you. Know that you should cherish every moment. Have a wonderful week.